Once again, if you don't hear anything else, hear my gratitude for your leadership. And knowing none of us signed up for all the additional challenges that are coming along with these particular times, but I'm grateful for you stepping up to those challenges. And I think this opportunity to touch base like this is really important. We're going to change up the schedule a little bit coming after Labor Day, and we're going to be meeting on, I think, probably the second and fourth Mondays moving forward. And we'll do the same thing with the rostered ministers, meeting on the second and fourth Tuesdays. And then that way you don't have to try to count backwards and figure out when the last meeting was. It'll just be the second and fourth. So tonight we get to meet some of our amazing interns who are who are in seminary and in various programs. And we're going to have opportunity to hear about some resources that are available on the ELCA website, which you may already be aware of, but as we roll into the fall here, we just want to make sure you're aware of those. And then we want to talk to you about, just give you an opportunity to talk to each other about this fall and what's coming. We do want to talk about contingency plans in case those of you who are planning in-person worship need to dial back, or what are the contingency plans for that? And so let's jump in. I wanted to start with a brief devotion. And I've been thinking, reflecting on these familiar words from Matthew chapter 11, because I'm using them as our text for Labor Day. Just so you know, if you don't know already, we are providing an entire worship service for Labor Day weekend. And the theme of that weekend will be the work into which we are called, and the various areas of labor that we are called to in our lives, and our vocation as Christians and parents and citizens and church members. And so, but I've been thinking about this text from Matthew 11. And this comes right after Jesus makes a statement about hiding things from the wise and the intelligent, and revealing them to what he says, infants, or to those who maybe don't feel so wise. And I'm just aware that in these times, none of us feels very wise. We don't know this territory. We haven't been over this ground before. None of us has. And it occurs to me that in these familiar verses that I'm about to read, Jesus' invitation isn't, "Come to me, all you who are winners and leaders of the pack and successful and feeling satisfied and complete," but his words are to those carrying heavy burdens. And we all come to those times in our lives when that's us. For every one of us, there's something in our life that's completely out of our control that we care about deeply, that we wonder about the outcome. And for many of us, there's more than one thing like that. And all of our work has become that much harder by the realities that we're living with today. And so I invite you to hear this invitation from Jesus. "Come to me, all you that are weary and carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." So I want to give you an opportunity very briefly to go into small groups and just share what is lightening your burden these days. What, as a gift of God, has come to you that is making the burden a little bit lighter, whatever that is for you, whatever the burden is, or whatever place you're finding respite or peace or refreshment or a lightened burden. I wonder if you would share that. So send us into small groups, Chris.
Perfect. How long, Bishop Bill, would you like them to be in there?
Oh, maybe just 4 or 5 minutes,
All right.
something like that. Yeah.
All right, I will open them up. You should be seeing a spot where you can join into a small group, into a breakout room.
So we're really grateful tonight that we have a couple of our interns with us who are serving congregations here in northwestern Minnesota. And so our interns are at an interesting phase in their formation as future leaders and current leaders in the church. And so I thought it would be helpful for you to meet a couple of our interns and each of the times we gather over the next few weeks, and also to hear about the program that they're a part of. It's because as you move into your future as a congregation, it could happen that you might be served one day by an intern that's going through one of the unique programs of our seminaries. And so I'm going to call first upon Julie Carlson. She's a student at Wartburg Seminary doing her internship here in our synod. And Julie, I'm just going to invite you to share about where you are doing your internship, what that has looked like in terms of the work that you've done, and a little bit about the seminary program that you're a part of. So welcome, Julie.
Thank you, Bishop Bill. Before I begin, I also want to give a shout out to Pastor John Olson and all of the candidacy committee. As you'll learn over the weeks, I think there's close to 20 different paths to ordination nowadays, and it's ever changing, and it's really complex. So give a pat on the back to those folks serving on candidacy committee.
For sure.
As Bishop Bill mentioned, I am Julie Carlson, and I am will be starting my 3rd year at Wartburg Seminary in the collaborative program. And I am also a SAM serving Oscar Lake and Trinity Parish, which is just 2 rural congregations just west of Alexandria. And if memory serves me right, I believe Oscar Lake is the oldest congregation in our synod. So I thought I would put a plug in there. And so I have been, it's probably easiest to explain the collaborative program. In 2016, Wartburg developed their collaborative program, which is for a 4-year program similar to the majority of the Master of Divinity programs. If in a standard residential MDiv program or a distance learning program, typically the rhythm is that you have 2 years, at Wartburg at least, you have first 2 years of academic studies. Your 3rd year is dedicated solely to internship. In other words, you are not taking any classes, and then return back for the 4th year for the final year of academic studies. The collaborative program is, well, it's a collaboration, and it involves students who are serving in ministry right out of the gate for the entire 4 years. In my case, I met with Oscar Lake and Trinity. We entered into a contract of part-time, serving them part-time. Some of my colleagues have various other types of roles. Some of them serve as youth ministers and that type of thing. But essentially, it's for all 4 years, you are serving a congregation in some pastoral capacity, as well as along with going to seminary. We collaborative students take 1 less course each semester, and we make up that during the 3rd year when our classmates are off dedicated to full-time internship at a specific site. So we contract with a site for 4 years, ideally. I have some friends in the program that life happens, situations change, circumstances change, and they've switched congregations, they've had to move and that type of thing. But the benefit to it is, in my case, it's like I'm able to remain in my home, serve a congregation locally, and it's I've been reflecting now as my friends have been entering into their internships. This 2 years of experience, on the job training, so to speak, has just been so invaluable. I'm an experiential learner, and it has just been such a blessing for me to be able to learn as I go. As I take seminary classes, I've got opportunity to apply them in real life contextual ways. So that's very helpful. There is it's truly a partnership, and I have to, our parish president, Grant Jensen, and Trinity's congregational president, Jan Christensen, are on there. It is truly a partnership. These congregations have gone all in, and they understand the partnership aspect of it. They have been extremely supportive. The congregation has a collaborative team, which I meet with on a regular basis. I have a supervisor, I have a mentor, and I have to tell you, in this day and age of COVID, I am so thankful and grateful because I am supported on so many levels, including the Synod, but also with the seminary. So I've got all these resources to draw on. So it's really been a great experience for me personally, and as I say, it's and now that's my experience. I will say that I have had classmates that have had some challenges. For whatever reason, things don't work out. The congregation they were serving had decided not to continue their contract and that type of thing. But Wartburg staff has been amazing in that respect. They actively engage and seek out other congregations and promote this. And the program has been growing tremendously. I'm the first student in this program in our synod, and I was delighted to find out that Kurt Peterson from Glendon is beginning his first year. So it's it's really had been a great experience. But as with anything, all the participants have to work together and build relationships. So yeah, and I would be happy to visit with anybody if they have any questions. Let me just put in, if you're interested in additional information, there is the information on the Wartburg Seminary website.
Thank you, Julie. That's awesome. And I have just always been a believer in this action reflection model of learning, where we try something out, and then we reflect on how that went, and then we get a chance to, the very next day perhaps, or the next sermon, or the next week, to try it over again. And I think this model just makes a ton of sense for the way a lot of us learn, but also for the realities of the church today, where sometimes we're needing to find ways to train people in place so that they can serve in the communities where they are while they're moving on their path toward ordained ministry. So I'm just grateful for this program at Wartburg, and excited. And I know you had your endorsement interview and it went well, so congratulations. We're glad that you're moving forward in your path towards ordained ministry. So thanks for tonight. Any questions for Julie?
Oh, I might add that it's been a real blessing to watch Julie develop from a rookie to being a seasoned veteran already. And for small churches, I think it's a very viable option. Everybody's got to be on board, of course, but we're really blessed to have Julie. I think Grant would agree. So just wanted to add that.
Thanks, Jen. Thank you. That's awesome. All right. So we're going to meet one other intern tonight. Lynn Melquire is a student at Luther Seminary. And Lynn, I'll invite you to just share the same, your experience, where you're serving, how that's going, and a little bit about the seminary program you're a part of.
Thank you. Well,
you bet.
Melchior, and I'm a student in the Masters of Divinity Accelerated program at Luther Seminary. And I am concurrently doing my internship part-time and full-time student for 2 years. The MDivX program is a holy experiment that is approved by the ELCA and a very innovative program from Luther Seminary. It is typically for students who have been in some form of ministry before, a lot like what Julie was saying, an older dedicated person who might have been a SAM, who might be youth minister. We have some people who are already considered pastors in our MDiv program. The program has 3 classes or cohorts, and we spend the entire 2 years with that same group of students. And there are 26 students in my cohort, and they're from around the United States. And one of the things that I love about this program is I can do it distributed learning. I have a 90-year-old father who lives across the street from me, and going off to seminary is not an option for me to take care of him. And so this program not only gets me through seminary in 2 years rather than 4, it also allows me to oversee all the things that go on with my dad. It is an intense program. Like Julie, I really love the fact that I have the hands-on experience at the same time that I'm learning. And I do find myself bringing what I learn into the situation that I'm in. And I am a vicar, a part-time intern pastor at First Lutheran Church in Fergus Falls. Hello, Steve Gutmorson, our president. It has been a wonderful experience, and what I've been doing is helping lead worship. I've preached several times. I have gone on a few in-home visits. I have spent some time on Zoom with leading Bible studies, basically shadowing our pastor. The strengths for me, the thing that really caught my eye was being able to apply at the same time, being a distributed learner, and then going through everything with a cohort. It is a very intense program. And I am in the 2nd cohort. So the fully funded program is for 5 years and 3 groups of students going through. And there's a lot of feedback and a lot of innovation on how we do things. And it's been a little different with COVID in trying to figure out how we accomplish some of those goals. And it's taken some creativity for us to try and figure out how to bond as a group, and how do we implement some of the more hands-on pieces. And when we put our heads together, we're able to figure it out, but it takes a little while. Any questions as to what I'm doing and anything about the program?
I have a question, Lynn. So
Yeah.
First of all, thank you so much for being here tonight and sharing, and for serving in the church in this way. When the MDivX program first came out, that was those of us who looked at it from the perspective at that time of Synod staff, and looking at, could we place a mission developer this way? Well, one of the things we recognized right away, this is super intense. It will not be for everybody. Those life circumstances have to be just so for you to be able to do it. So this isn't going to become the way that we do. It'll be one path to ordained ministry among many, right?
Correct.
But my question, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, it is super intensive. I mean, I'm going to school 40, 50 hours a week and then working 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
And then you still have life on top of that. So you need to have a really good support system, and you need to have some of the basics in life down.
Yep, exactly. Well, what about, you mentioned that you're doing distance learning and MDivX. Are there students in the MDivX program who are not doing DL, who are on site or on campus, or is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and
I didn't know that. I thought it was all DL.
nope, they do allow that. We have had people move from other parts of the country.
Okay.
Be at Luther Seminary. And of course, now with COVID, everything is online.
Right, right.
But that is an option. And we have a lot of people who have moved to the Twin Cities just to continue be closer to the program.
So then they're having their internship sites are located in and around the Twin Cities area then?
That is correct.
Oh, okay.
So it's not
sense.
a requirement, but it's an option.
Yeah. Any other questions for Lynn or for Julie?
Steve at First Lutheran Church in Fergus Falls, and I just wanted to tell the group that we've been really thankful to have Lynn with us. And there were those in the congregation that were somewhat concerned about bringing on an intern in the middle of this COVID pandemic thing. And my response was, if Lynn can get through her internship at First Lutheran during COVID-19, she can probably tackle anything in her future.
Now, your first call might feel like a bit of a break.
It might.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much. And you're both you and Julie are welcome to stay on the call, but you're also not required to if you've got other things you want to get to tonight. So, but thanks for giving us your time here tonight. It's good to see you. So I thought it would be helpful at this particular time, and if this is redundant for some of you, I apologize, but just to show you some of the very practical resources that are there for presidents, treasurers, secretaries on our ELCA website. Some very practical things for basic financial management, revising a constitution, some practical church management type stuff, so that you know where to go on our ELCA website when you or another member of the council has questions. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris for now.
So I'm going to open up the ELCA website. I'm going to share that with you all so then you can find things easily. So this is the elca.org. If you type that into your browser, this is what you come to. And then up top here, there's resources. So on there, and then they have all of these downloadable resources. There's a lot of things, and I did some digging today. And I think that these, if I was a council president, these were the things that I would want to make sure I knew about. So first I thought of finances, and please share some of these resources with your treasurer. But they have, here is a tab for congregations. So they have all of these forms for you to fill out. And some of this stuff is like writing minutes like a pro. Some of it is just sort of council. There is a council tab on the resource page, but that's more for the ELCA Church Council and not for like your congregation's councils. So some of these things in here I wanted to share with you guys is some just resources for you. So expense and reimbursement forms, acknowledging an in-kind gift. Narrative budgets are one way to tell the story of how your congregation uses its funds. So yeah, that is a great way to share along with your budget in your annual report. Some things on housing allowances, some human resource sort of things. and audits. This one right here, council officer job descriptions. I thought this one was kind of interesting, especially around annual meeting time, to kind of know what's expected of the things, because sometimes people aren't really sure what they're supposed to be or what their role is on the council if that's not part of your constitution. And then, yeah, is there anything here, Bishop Bill?
This one here, the financial best practices for congregations, is one that I've, on a synod staff and now as bishop, I find myself referring congregations to this one a lot. Just some basic stuff about handling offerings and regular reporting, and how to make sure that you're keeping people safe, their reputations, and also keeping the congregation's assets secure. I think there's some really good suggestions in that document.
All right, and then another one that I wanted to share with you, coming up on September 13th, we have God's Work, Our Hands. And it will probably look different for you if your congregation partakes in God's Work, Our Hands. It's kind of our service Sunday that we do as a national church. You can do service any other time, but you can order these God's Work, Our Hands shirts and caps, and they have different things like that through Old Lutheran that is located in our synod. And they have some worship sorts of things and ideas here. But being COVID, time of COVID, we might have to be a little bit more creative about that. But that will be in about a month. It's going to be September soon. So I wanted to share that. One thing that I think is important is this congregational communications tools. There's some things on here about crisis communication, some media relations, some photo release and photo guidelines, which is important. If you take pictures at your events and post them on your website or online, it's good to have permission, and just sort of best practices around that, and then media relations. Is there anything about this, Bishop Bill, you'd like to lift up?
I just noticed there's different resources for different seasons of the year, which is kind of nice.
It's, yeah, some pictures, different things to use on like social media or postcards and whatnot. So that one, I, as a communications director, am a little partial to, so that's why I wanted to share that one with you. And then this one, risk management, I found super interesting today as I was digging through. So they have active shooter reference forms and disaster plans, and emergency, how to handle embezzlement, how to keep insurance records, safety and loss prevention. So this is sort of good things to have along with your congregational insurance. Your congregational insurance policy will probably have some guidelines around this stuff as well. So yeah, anything to add around that, Bishop Bill? This is stuff that you hope you never have to deal with.
We probably get calls, I'm going to say on average, in our synod, I've been at this almost a year now. And if the same was true when I was down in South Dakota on a synod staff, which is about the same size synod, 2 to 3 times a year, we get calls related to some suspicion or concern about financial malfeasance or embezzlement. And so it's a lot. It's something that, those financial best practices and being aware of what your insurance provider, what their expectations are in order to keep your bonding in force. Those are good things to be aware of.
Mm-hmm. And then one other one on the ELCA website I wanted to share with you guys. And as a synod, we'll be digging into this a little bit deeper, but it's stewardship season. And they have some great resources in where your offering goes. If you're looking for your annual report covers, they live here. So if you have an office person or a council looking for those, they live here on the stewardship page. And this is something I know Bishop Bill is working with Pastor Keith on doing some webinars around. Is there anything around that you'd like to share?
Yeah, there's some great resources here. I've made use of these. I just say watch for some. We're going to provide through webinar some training for doing a simple annual response campaign tailored to the particular times we're living in. And we've pulled together a cohort of leaders, and so watch for more information about that.
They have a lot of information here, and looking at stewardship as more than just money, but stewardship of creation and stewardship of your gifts, your talents as well. And then one other thing I wanted to share, and Pastor Carla does a lot of work around this, is constitutions. So this is on our Synod website. And Pastor Carla, I should have warned you that I was going to show this. But after every churchwide assembly, the constitution of the ELCA gets changed a bit. And so it is time to look at your constitutions. And so Pastor Carla, is there, or Bishop Bill, is there anything you want to talk to about constitutions?
I would say that if you haven't updated your constitution in the last 3 years, our recommendation is that you start with the model constitution and then incorporate your particular bylaws and continuing resolutions into that constitution. If you are regularly updating your constitution, it's probably easier to begin with your constitution and then just look at, there's some guidelines on our Synod webpage for how to update your constitution. It uses Word, so it's a universal word processing software, and we have a small team. We're always looking for more members for our Constitution Review Committee, but we have a thorough team, and so questions are always welcome. And if we don't know the answer, we definitely know where to go to at the ELCA churchwide organization for answers on those Constitution questions.
Thanks, Carla. Yeah, and that's just a shout out. If you are passionate about constitutions and governing documents and those kinds of details, and believe it or not, there are people who are passionate about things like that. We could use a couple more folks on our Constitutional Review team.
You have to be very detail oriented.
Right. So if you are, reach out to our Synod, to our Synod staff, reach out to Carla in particular, or me. I'll get you going in the right direction. Thanks for that, Chris. So what we thought we'd do is take some time to talk to each other about, first of all, let's check in on what you're doing for worship and how it's going. And then I think it will be helpful for you to at least have a conversation on whether or not your congregation, if you have moved towards in-person worship, or you have a plan for moving towards in-person worship, what have you thought about in terms of in the eventuality that you need to dial back? For example, we are now aware of a couple of congregations who just in the last few weeks had moved into in-person worship, and then either because of a local outbreak or because of just realizing that there were more logistics than they had thought through, needed to dial back to plan B. And so I wanted to have you just check in with each other about that. Some congregations, I met with a congregation council the other night who has, I think wisely, said, we're going to watch what happens at the school. And we're going to kind of track with what the school is doing. If it's going well with the school, we'll start meeting. If they need to dial back, we'll dial back. So that's another barometer, but just some thoughts, how you're thinking about this as you move forward, what sort of plans are in place. So So the specific questions are, what are you doing for worship? How's it going? And then do you have any thoughts about if you have to dial back, how you would do that? And then if there's time, what are the plans for faith formation or confirmation, et cetera, Sunday school for this fall? If you're aware of those, how is that planning going? So any questions or for clarification? And Chris will throw the questions up on the screen. You'll see them pop up.
Should we stay in the same groups that we're in before?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay.
Is it, can I ask one question? Can I ask one question before we go to our groups?
Yeah.
Is it possible to get a sense from you of how many churches in the Synod are actually doing in person? Or like, it's just hard. We don't have a barometer on that as individual churches. How many actually have gone back to in person, for example?
I will look up that Google form, but that is a little old. We did a survey, and so I can peek at that really quick, but it's not the like most recent.
Yeah. You know, my gut, Laurel, is like fewer than 25%, and most of them are projecting. I hear a lot of we're gonna start in, you know, some Sunday in September. I'm hearing a lot of that. We have a few congregations that are very small, that have large facilities, that have been meeting in person for quite some time. But for them, it's a relative to all the congregations, it's a relatively small number that are doing inside the building, in-person worship. There's a lot of parking lot, outdoor, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so 116 people responded, and this was a little while ago, but out of those 116, 14 were meeting indoor and in person.
Yeah, and that was back in July.
106 were meeting online.
Was that in early August?
July?
Late July?
Yep.
Okay.
So things have changed, but then like Bishop Bill had said, there have been some congregations that have tried and then for different reasons have needed to go back.
Okay. How much time do you think we should take, Chris?
Maybe like 12 minutes, 10-ish minutes, do you think?
Let's say 10.
Okay, perfect. I'll open up those rooms for you all right now, and I'll plug in the questions for you.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Well, thanks for tonight. Just a few things. I'm thinking, Chris, we didn't really talk about the schedule, but I was thinking 2nd and 4th, Mondays and Tuesdays. Does that make sense to you?
Yep.
Yeah. Because if we do 1st, then that's Labor Day, which nobody wants to.
And that's kind of how we're lined up in September anyways, was to skip Labor Day. And so then we'll switch to the 2nd and the 4th. Okay.
So does that mean that the 2nd Monday will be the next time this group is together?
Nope, we have the 31st.
Ah, okay. That's right.
Yep.
So that'll be the next time we're together. A reminder that once again, we are offering worship, the full service, and you can split it out how you want. There'll also be just this message from me, or just the service, or the whole thing. And that'll be available Wednesday of the week before Labor Day, correct, Chris? Yeah. And
the 2nd in the Northern Lights. It will be in the Northern Lights on Wednesday the 2nd in the afternoon.
Okay. And then it came up in our small group, so just a reminder that there is a recording of a very, I think, excellent webinar that we made available around faith formation with 6 faith formation leaders from around the Synod. Lots of great ideas about faith formation rolling into the fall there. Anything else before we head out from you, Carla or Chris or anybody else?
No, I think, thank you so much.
Just one thing, could we lift Peter Fitch Gallatin up as he is ordained on Sunday, please?
Yep, Peter will be my first deacon ordination. So I'm looking forward to that this Sunday at Trinity Lutheran here in Detroit Lakes at 2 o'clock. So let's pray for Peter. Let's pray our way out, and I'll pray for him and for all of us. The Lord be with you. Holy God, we give you thanks for all of your good gifts to us. We thank you for this glorious day that you gave us to serve you, to work, to do the work you give us to do, to wait upon you and your word. We thank you for those who are called into service in the church, for the people we heard from this evening, and we thank you for Peter, and we ask that you will bless his ordination day, that it will be a day not of celebration, but also of commitment to the ministry into which you've entrusted him. I pray you'll take what was good and helpful about this evening and use it to energize and empower these leaders, empower their hands, their thinking, their wisdom, and their work as they lead in our synod. And thank you for them. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. Thanks, everybody. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.